everybody. I'm real excited to be here today because this is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. Because while language seems so complex for our little guys to understand and be able to talk, there's really some simple strategies that we can use to really help them communicate with us better. So let's just get rolling here, and please stop me if you have any questions, and then at the end, as Sarah said, I'll have a lot of time to answer your questions as well. And I do have some videos at the end that I can share as well. So first things first, we're going to start with some developmental milestones. We're going to kind of go through this quickly, but it's good to know where should your child be at certain ages. Now remember, there's a wide range of normal, especially in the first year. So these aren't cut in stone. Children develop at their own rate, especially in those first couple of years. So there's definitely a wide range of normal. But if we're looking at birth to 3 months, we're going to look at language in two ways. We're going to look at understanding and comprehension of language, and then actually using the language. So we usually refer to that as comprehension and expression. So hearing and understanding, birth to 3 months. Usually startling to loud sounds, quiets or smiles when spoken to. The infant may seem to recognize your voice and quiets if crying. We all know that, the mom's voice. Increases or decreases sucking behavior in response to a sound. As far as talking, you may see some cooing, some gooing, cries differently for different needs. So you know if it's a hungry cry or a change me cry, usually as a mom we can figure those things out. And then smiling at 3 months. We know that's the best reward when we see that. Moving on, 4 to 6 months. For hearing and understanding. The infant may move eyes in the direction of sounds, respond to changes in the tone of your voice, noticing toys that make sounds, and pays attention to music. So you may notice them turn their head to music or just a difference in their eyes. As far as talking, you're going to start seeing some babbling. And the first babbling sounds, the P, the B, and the M. So the mama, papa. You will see a dada too. You'll see chuckling and laughing, vocalizing excitement and displeasure, and making gurgling sounds when left alone and when playing with you. 7 months to a year. Hearing and understanding. Enjoys games like peekaboo and pat a cake. Turns and looks in the direction of sounds. Recognizes words for common items like cup, shoe, book, or juice. Begins to respond to requests like, come here. As far as the talking portion or the expressive portion, babbling has both long and short, such as we're going to see different sounds then, not just ba ba mama, ta ta, up, beep 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 beep. It's going to go on for longer periods. Uses speech or non-crying sounds to get and keep attention. So they're either going to gesture, pull you along if they want something, or use some kind of a babbling vocal. Uses gestures to communicate. Like I said, pointing, waving. A lot of parents are teaching these basic signs such as more or all done. And they're going to start to imitate you. So when we talk about imitating, we're so tempted to say this. But when we look at imitating, the first thing a baby's going to imitate is your action. So we're going to do so big. If they can't do that, they're not going to be able to imitate a speech sound. So we're going to start with those kind of things, just those basic kind of gross motor imitations. Clapping, pat a cake, all those types of things. Then we're going to look at imitating non-vocal gestures, such as blowing. We're blowing out the candles, or blowing a kiss. So there's no vocal there, but that's going to be the next step in imitation. So if I'm seeing a kiddo that first of all can't do gross motor, I'm going to start there. Then I'm going to move on to blowing a kiss and blowing. Then I'm going to move on to vocal actions, sneezing, making a car noise, vroom. That's actually animal noises. Those are actually, we would say, technically not words, but in the child's repertoire for beginning to get words. So all those things we would start to work on, and then we're going to start working on that core vocabulary, those basic words. for imitating those. Does anyone have any questions about that? What can we do to help in that first year? We are going to check our child's ability to hear. So we're going to pay attention to ear problems. If your child has recurrent ear infections, we need to get that checked out with the pediatrician, keep tabs on it. You know, we always say, if there's fluid built up in your child's ear, they're not actually hearing the sounds the way you're saying them. And we used to say garbage in, garbage out. So we want to pay attention to that. Your pediatrician will refer you when it's time. Hey, maybe it's time to see an ENT because we've just had these ear infections over and over and over again. And in developing language, we don't want to see that because we don't want all that fluid in there that could cause problems. Reinforce communication attempts by looking, speaking, and imitating vocalizations. Repeat his or her laughter or facial expressions, even just like we talked about. Imitating a facial expression is great, and then have him do it back. We want that back and forth reciprocal interaction between you and your child. Routine, such as peekaboo, blowing kisses, pat a case, even waving, hi and bye. Start there. So I know we want to jump to words if we feel our child is behind, but start with those basic communications. We want our child not to be frustrated. We want, what can we do in place if we don't have words yet? Pointing. Okay, oh, you want the bubbles. You pointed to the bubbles. And we're going to bring those bubbles down. We want to bridge that so that it's not so frustrating. So those basic signs, pointing, all that is communication and expressive communication as well. It may not be words, but it's the way they're communicating, and that's the way it starts. So hi and bye, same thing. Now we're going to pair that with a verbal, hi and bye, but just a wave is communication as well. So we have to remember all those things are ways for your child to communicate, not just words. Talk about where you're doing things, such as dressing, bathing, and feeding. Talk about where you're going and what you're doing. One thing I always tell parents, and I think it's really, really important, we tend to talk in long, drawn-out sentences. I always say a good rule of thumb is if your child has one word, you're gonna model 2-3 words max. If your child has 2 words, then you're gonna move it up and maybe you can put 4 words in. So let's say they say baby. You can model that again, baby go. So then we're giving them a nice model, but we're not giving them 15 words in a row for them to process. We always want to kind of just go one step above where they are. So put your coat on, get your shoes, and then go over, and then we're going to get in the car, blah, blah, blah. Too much. You would say, coat on, they get their coat. Shoes on, let's go. So we're going to really simplify our language so that they're able to pick it up a little bit more. Does that make sense? Okay. Talk about colors, practice counting. Don't get too caught up at this age with academic skills, though. Counting is great, and it's good for imitation, and certainly you're going to get there with them, but don't get too caught up in what they know in terms of numbers and letters at this point, I would say. I don't know if a preschool teacher would agree with me. 1 to 2 years. They're going to point to a few body parts. When we're teaching body parts, what would you say would be the first thing that everybody goes to? Nose, right. Usually head or nose, something on their face. Now, they cannot see that, right? They cannot see their own nose. So I like to start with tummy, toes, and head's okay because, it's big enough. But nose, it's hard for them to see, but they can see their own belly, right? They can see their toes. So I always like to start with those kind of body parts to begin with, because sometimes nose is hard, and there's a lot going on. Eyes, mouth, on the face. Follow simple commands. Roll the ball, kiss the baby, where's your shoe? Listens to simple stories, points to pictures in a book. So you can say, where's the apple? And they can do that between 1 and 2 or 2 years old. You're going to notice an increase of words every month. They're going to start using some questions. Go bye-bye, and you're going to notice it just in their inflection. Start putting 2 words together. And usually that's closer to 2 years, so don't panic if your child's 1 and has 10 words and they're not putting words together. If you think about it, we've got to have a vocabulary of at least, they say 50, I say 25 before you start putting words together. I mean, you can't put two words together if you don't have that basic core vocabulary. We're going to see a lot of different consonant sounds at the beginning of words too. I wanted to touch base just about following simple commands too. So if your child's having trouble following a command, so let's say you're saying to your child, get your shoe, nothing, they're over here. The next cue you're going to give your child is a visual cue. You're going to take your finger and say, get shoe, and let's see if that helps them to follow that command. And we're talking about the comprehension part of it right now. Still nothing, kind of looking that way, but not there. The next step you're going to do is you're going to help them. You're going to take them, Mommy said, get shoe. You're going to pick that up, help them get the shoe, and so they're experiencing some success in following commands. You just have to give them a little more prompting initially. Now we're going to want to dial that back as things go on, and we just eventually want to just get to the point where we're going to just give them a verbal cue. But in the beginning, we might need to give a little bit more. So we're going to start with a verbal, not enough. Get shoe, not enough. I'm going to help you. Let's get your shoe. So that's one way to help your child with following commands. We talked about using grammatical speech that's easy to imitate. So less is more. Reading is a great thing to do. Have your child point to pictures that you name, and then communicative temptation. So that's where we're going to really talk about that. I have a handout here. So just some simple things to tempt your child to communicate. We need to give our child, let me take the top there. I just want to hand that out. Thank you. We want to give our children as many opportunities as they can to communicate with us. And we as parents, as a therapist, I have to tell myself every day, I have to give them the opportunity. That means we have to wait, and we kind of have to set things up so they're tempted to communicate. We are so good at anticipating our children's needs that we know before they even say it what they want. We have to kind of tailor ourselves back and kind of teach ourselves, we got to take a step back and wait for them and give them a reason to communicate. So I'm going to give you some examples of that that are real simple. And I know we sometimes get caught up on buying all these bells and whistles toys. It's really simple. It's really inexpensive ways to do that. First thing is, I know everybody's got a toy room. I have it. I have 5 kids, and when they were little, it was blown up with toys everywhere. When we have that and we're trying to work with our child on communicating, they're frustrated, they're not getting what they want from you, they can easily move on to the next thing. So what I like to do is say, let's put a lot of those toys away, up on shelves that are visible. Just having a few things out makes a big difference in communication because there's only the bubbles out right now. So that's going to bring their focus. You're going to try to engage them with that. And at that age, their attention span is pretty short. So we want to keep them engaged for as long as we can. So that would be my first recommendation, is just kind of look at your space, look at your environment, and see, is there too much going on here? Secondly, we want to put some things out of reach or lids on really tight, and we want to wait. So our child might bring us over to the bubbles, right? I'll take the bubbles and say, oh, you want bubbles. You brought me over to the bubbles. I open the bubbles, I blow a few to get them engaged. We do pop, 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 pop. And then I put it back on and I hand it to them. Okay? They might not be ready at the word level, but we say, what should we do? What should we do? If they're at the imitation level, they can do pop or bubbles, or if we're not there yet, sign. So more. So we can't obviously make our child say something, but we can help them to sign something. And what our child needs to know is, in order to get these bubbles, I need to give you something. Doesn't have to be a perfect bubbles, but it can be a point with a, oh, you want the bubbles, and you're going to model, oh, bubbles. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something. It could be a more. It could be a point. It could be a buh. Oh, then what you're going to do is reinforce it. Oh, you want bubbles. Let's open. You can maybe add another word right there. You open it up, you blow it, put it back on. Set it down. So we want to tempt communication. We don't want to start a full-out tantrum. That gets us nowhere. But we want to get them a tiny little bit frustrated so they have a need to communicate with us. So important. And like I said, me being a parent and a therapist, I have to remind myself, step back, give them an opportunity. So I'm going to go through a few of my favorite things. A balloon, cheap and inexpensive, right? You would not believe how tempting and how awesome it is when you blow up a balloon and let it go and then do nothing, how your child will be engaged. Then they bring it back over to you. What should we do? So here's where they don't have words yet, but I'm going, should we blow? So I'm giving them that word, blow, but I'm also, if they aren't able to say the word yet, maybe they can try to imitate just the blowing. Maybe they just go, in fact, I had a kiddo yesterday that just went, yes, blow! And then I got very, very excited, and as soon as she gave me something, I gave her that reinforcement right away. She gave me something, here you go. We're gonna blow that balloon again. It's gonna be really fun and engaging. And it was fun. And that's something we forget too, we wanna drill words. What's this? What's this? Say this, say that. It's not fun. The more fun you have, the more engaged your child will be, the more they're gonna learn. I always remind myself of that, especially when you feel that need. Oh, they need to have 25 words because on the milestones it said they need to have 50 words. Just pull it away, find an activity they engage, and it will come. So my balloon is one of my best friends. Some of these are pretty funny. Like put your child's hand in a sticky substance. I haven't really done that, but you could, and you might get a ooh and yuck and those kind of things. Clear containers are my best friends. So I will put something they really, really love in a pretzel, those big plastic pretzel jars with the lid. They can see it, right? They can see what they want, but it's in there. Man, what's in there? Oh my gosh, what should we do? You guys have to play that kind of, I don't know, role and see if we can get a sign for open if they're not ready. Or sometimes you'll get, oh yeah, open. Let's open it up. Let's pull it out. Simple words. Oh, put something new in every single time. That kind of thing. Something that's really going to engage them. Again, very inexpensive. Sand, beans, all those type of things, putting those in. I found those to be pretty inexpensive and great ways to promote that communication. Some of these are funny, like eat a desired food in front of your child. Send them over the top there, but again, food is a really good motivator. And you know that a lot, a cookie or something like that, and you're eating it, and they're really into that. So it is a good motivator. I don't recommend you use it all the time. Simple games like just playing, I've stacked up all action figures of a kiddo that loves action figures. Pick it up, bye-bye, toss it, into a laundry basket. Just something kind of out of the norm, but just pick it up, bye-bye. You do that 5 times. On the 6th time, wait. Wait, and count to 10 seconds in your head, which seems like an eternity, believe me, and see. Because a lot of times kids take a little bit a while to process or a little bit of wait time, and then they figure out, oh, wait, she did it. All right, we're waiting. She's holding it up. I want her to throw it in the basket over there. He or she will do something like this. Oh, yeah, bye. So they kind of get that. But the key there would be waiting, modeling it first, and waiting. I'm on a tangent here. What else did we say? Put things in opaque bags and shake them. Shaking's always good. This is another one of my faves. Eggs, Easter eggs. You would not believe how much kids love Easter eggs. And if there's a new little prize in each one, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, you can do open, shake. Oh, what's in here? Oh, it's a pig. Okay, there's another good inexpensive toy is a wind-up toy. So I'll pull out my pig. I'll let it go. And we'll talk, pig's walking. Uh-oh, it fell off the table, right? Uh-oh, now it's done. So we're gonna leave it there, and it's not wound up again. And little kids probably can't wind it up. So, and then I'll just say, what should we do? Do we want to do more of the walking? Do we want to put it back in and say bye-bye? So I'm giving some easy options. Or should we do some more eggs? So this is a really good and inexpensive way to kind of activity for your child. Popping paper. Another one. So for example, you're tempting communication. You go, pop. Oh, they think this is just the most fabulous thing ever. Then you wait. Do you want to do more? Pop. Then they do it. Then you do it, then they do it. We're doing some back and forth interaction. But just remember, in order for them to get to pop this, they have to give you something. And again, it doesn't have to be pop, doesn't have to be bubble wrap, it's not gonna be, but it might just be a point in the very beginning. It might just be more, it might just be, da da da. Okay, all right, we're gonna do it. And you're gonna promote, oh, you want to pop. Let's do it, Have fun with it. When it stops being fun, these are little guys, you're gonna have to move on to something else. Another good way to promote communication, choice of two. Again, we as parents, as therapists, anticipate needs very well, which is great, but, so we may know, he wants a cookie right now, but I'm gonna pull a cookie and an apple, and I'm gonna say, do you want cookie or apple? That way he's not shaking his head, grabbing, pointing. You are wanting a response back. You are wanting verbal. You want something. He's got to make a choice here. But you're also giving him a model without saying, say cookie. You're saying, do you want cookie or apple? And he might point and say, oh, cookie. You want the cookie. So you're giving him a nice model back, but you're expecting something. Do you want cookie? Grab the cookie. We've got to have an expectation that they have to give us something to get what they need. Again, pick your times a day. They're tired, they're crabby, they haven't had a nap. Probably not the best time to do all this tempting. You're still gonna do it to a lesser amount, but you wanna make sure, it's not gonna be successful, and you want them to be successful, and you wanna be successful. So as a parent, I know there's sometimes I have to turn on the TV and make my dinner and do that, and it's not the time to really, they're at their wit's end. It's gonna result in a meltdown, and that is gonna get you nowhere communication-wise. You have to, you just kind of have to know where they're at. Okay, I think I digressed a little bit there. 2 to 3 years, they're starting to understand differences in meaning. Go, stop, in, out, up, down. They're following two requests. Get the book, put it on the table. Listen and enjoy hearing stories. You'll notice a lot more of attention there to those kind of things like books and things like that. Talking wise, have a word for almost everything. Use 2 or 3 words to talk about and ask for things. You're going to start seeing some later developing sounds, K, G, F, T, D, and N. T, D, and N are earlier too, but you're going to start seeing those more. We always say if at that age, if 75% or 80% is understood, you're good. You're not going to get 100%. Often asks for or directs attention to objects by naming them. So you're not going to want this, but, cookie. I want cookie, So they'll say it instead of pointing now. You'll see less signing, less pointing. You'll see more words. Okay. Use clear, simple speech. Same thing. Repeat and expand. That's another thing. I think I touched on it briefly, but especially at this age. So he might say baby, and you're saying, oh, the baby's crying. Oh, the baby's hungry. Maybe the baby needs bottle. I'm keeping it short and concise in increments. Or I could just say, baby's crying. So he said baby, I said, baby's crying. Maybe he's hungry. And then I get the bottle, and we go into another whole set of circumstances there. But expand, expand, expand. Just don't expand too much. Remember that rule that you're just going to go a few words above where they're at. Talking about books, if they're into that. I use the iPad. Not a lot of kids are into that. I don't use it all the time, but there's a lot of good cause and effect. Peekaboo Barn. There's a couple apps that just are very cause and effect, and they're going to want more. And I think there are some good things. I don't use it all the time. Same with books. We talked about giving a choice. I always use songs and finger games and nursery rhymes too. One thing to do is to strengthen your child's comprehension skills. So we're going back to the understanding again and play the yes-no game. Are you a boy? No, and make it silly. So just, again, engaging is really the key here. So are you a boy? And it's a girl. No, I'm a girl. So you're really getting to their level and making it fun. And that kind of brings me to another point. If you're up here and they're down here, it's not the best idea. I always like to be on the floor. I'm eye to eye with them, and I'm also in front. So a lot of times kids will come and they'll want to hug their mom's back, which is all great and fine. But you really want, for that communication, to kind of work on that communication, you want to be like this. And you want to be on the floor with them. Let's see. 3 to 4 years, we're starting to look at answering WH questions. They'll hear you when you call them from another room. They're going to start talking about activities, recent events. People outside the family can usually understand speech, and you're going to see a lot more 4- and 5-word sentences. At this later age, we're going to start looking at sorting into categories, really expanding the length of the utterance. Read books that have simple plots, and we're going to have them work on kind of formulating sentences. Tell me about the story. What happened in this picture? Expand on social communication and storytelling by acting out typical scenarios. I do a lot of that with play, with cooking, and we do Elmo going to the doctor or Elmo going to sleep, and you'll see a lot of language that way. Okay, what do we need before we get language? We need social. Before a baby talks, he must be social and have a desire to be with people. So that back and forth, even from the earliest. Secondly, we need interaction between the two of you, and a reason to communicate. Remember, we talked about that opportunity. And before you see expression, you're always going to see that comprehension first. So no one's going to use a word they don't know what it means, right? If he can't point to apple, he's really not going to use it with meaning. So always that's going to come first. And when I test kids, I will always typically see that comprehension score is higher than expressive, and that's pretty typical, because usually they're understanding more than they're giving, and that they're using. Social games I love. This doesn't even seem like a game, but Give Me 5 is a game. So when they're really young, give me 5. It's communication. It's interaction, right? It's a way to reward. So Big is one of my favorites. Peekaboo. Some original games like, having Dad lift up and down. Okay, what do you want? Should we go up? They may point up. So you're waiting in order for them. You do it a couple times, then you stop, then you wait. Okay, what do you want? Up. Oh, then we're going up. So we're kind of going back to earlier games for younger kids right here. One game that works like a charm is I do ah, and then we slam our hands on the table. Kind of stupid sounding right now. You would not believe how engaging that is. So we'll lift our arms up, we'll do it 3 times, and the 3rd time I'll wait. I won't slam my hands, and you wouldn't believe I'll get some kind of, and then we slam our hands. So waiting for that, something that I'm getting in order to get it. And it doesn't have to just be for an object or a food item. That was just for pure enjoyment. She or he loved slamming their hands on the table. And we were doing it a couple times. We want that to happen again. Row your boat. I do that a lot with just, we're actually moving, Ring Around the Rosie, happy birthday. Kids love birthdays, so we do a lot of play with birthday, blowing out candles and singing. And I know I've touched on this, but it's not the game, it's how you play it. So you and I can both play the Aboom game, and mine can be very, very boring, and yours can be very interactive. So you've got to get your kiddo engaged in what you're doing, and then it will come. The language will come. the communication will come. If they're bored and you're not having fun with the game, I guarantee it's not going to work very well. Okay, and this is just talking about comprehension and what I said. We must understand words before we begin to talk. Receptive language or understanding strategies. We talked about simplifying, and then also what I talked about before. Tell him to get something, show him, and then help him get it. So that's going to be your order when you're thinking about that with your kids. Okay, this is kind of, I'm going to go over some of these. Signing. A lot of parents are under the impression that if they sign, they're not going to talk. Not true. Research does not suggest that at all. It says that it is actually helpful. So those early signs can just be a bridge for that frustration. And you're always going to pair that with the word that goes with it. But do not be afraid that, oh, if I teach these signs, we're not going to talk. Because eventually kids figure out it's easier to just say it. Even if they're a really good signer and can do it, they figure out it's easier. So that's not something, I get that question a lot. And this is the main thing with communicative temptations: teach the toddler that he has to do something to get something. And this will be on the website. This is what I talked about, how we go through imitation from early gestures all the way to early words. Sabotage. So again, we talked about that's part of the communicative temptation. Don't make it easy on them. Get something in the way of getting what they want. Sabotage in a way that is not going to cause a meltdown, but just they have to work a little harder. They have to have a reason to communicate. Again, too, does not have to be perfect. It just has to be something to get something. Does not have to be perfect. Accept what that is. And then the main point at the end here is waiting. And you have to really teach yourself that. I do it all the time. I have to remind myself, wait. And then here we just have a little bit about articulation sounds. What are the initial sounds? You'll see P, B, M, T, N, D, H, K, and G. Not necessarily. Really around 3. I would expect to see those more. A lot of kids don't have K and G. A lot do. And then the later developing sounds are even, the sounds that aren't listed, R, L, T, H, not a worry for a toddler. And I just have some references. Those will be on the PowerPoint that Sarah's going to put on the website. So now I just want to take your questions and see if I can help you brainstorm some strategies.